And I think we're back up and running. Hopefully, we're back up and running. It is the big show, as we always call it. And of course, we do it every single day at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I know there was a big storm that came through, so maybe it played some games with the internet. But I think we're up and running. I think it's fine. And of course, we do it every day at about 5 o'clock. Do the same thing. And we basically are here to talk about Pittsburgh sports. Obviously, the Steelers usually is what we lead with because that seems to be what you guys are all, in most interested in. But of course, there's all kinds of other things to get to every single day. We talk about the Pirates, the Penguins, and many other things. Of course, it is another day where somebody writes a report about basically the Steelers being interested in a player, maybe trying to make a trade for a player, all that other good stuff. It's really, at this point, what I would call a lot of off-season fodder that just continues to be had for the simple fact that, people like to talk about a lot of different things when it comes to the off season because it's a lot more interesting than, well, I don't know, usually what actually happens. Now, that being said, Chris Olave is the subject that it seems to be where they're talking about, well, the Steelers had interest in him. They were trying to basically make a deal for him. Maybe they thought about it, but then again, originally they tried to go maybe get him and it didn't work out. And then even after they traded George Pickens, then they came back and tried to get Olave, and the reality is it just wasn't going to work out for him. So the Saints have made it very clear they don't want to trade him. They don't want to trade him because they just want to make sure it is going to be a different situation. They want to make sure that they give the fifth-year option, and they want to make sure that they are basically trying really hard to build their team. And, of course, they've got quarterback issues since Derek Carr retired. But the reality is the Steelers weren't able to make a deal. I like DK Metcalf better than Chris Olave, I think. I don't know, if they would have been able to pull off a deal to get them both. That obviously would have been really ideal. They did what they had to do. And I think that's the most important thing. They really were able to go and get and secure a top receiver in DK Metcalf. Whether Chris Olave was going to be that guy eventually or they were going to try and come get him later, that remains to be seen. There's a lot to like about Chris Olave. Of course, he's young and he's still got probably a lot of football in front of him. But the bottom line is the Saints seem like they're going to hold on to him. And that is one of those things where if they don't want to make a trade, then there's really not a trade to be had, right? I mean, that's what happens in sports. If the team doesn't want to make a trade with you, there's no trade to be had. And so, I think that's one of those things where I laugh when all these reports come out because it just didn't happen. The trade did not happen. And I think that's where it is. That's where we're talking about what it looks like, to be honest. When you have a situation of where there's a trade, okay, it has to be both teams wanting to do it. And I guess they don't want to do it or something like that, period. And that's really what I would tell you. So it's now or never, really. It's now or never, I think, for the Steelers to go still try and figure out and find another place where they can, I don't know, go get a receiver. And I don't know if that guy's out there. Clearly, they're not going to get one probably of the caliber of DK Metcalf. They're probably not going to get one of the caliber of even a guy like, I would say, Olave or even George Pickens, which, by the way, I find it hilarious if you think about it. George Pickens, okay, is a guy who now is talking about how he basically is, how he basically is happy as can be in Dallas. Happy as can be. And I think that's hilarious because he's never happy. He's never, ever happy. He's just one of those guys who I think, if you think about it, he's one of those guys that is never going to be happy. But he claims he's had a smile on his face since he has got to Dallas. Period. Smile on his face, happy as can be, right? That's what it comes down to. And I think that when you think about it that way, he's going to say all these things that it looks like where you would go, but basically to me, where you would go to try and find happiness. I'm not sure Dallas would be that. Honestly, I don't think Dallas would be the place I'd go to find happiness. And the fact that he's claiming he does, and that's what he's trying to do, it's one of those. It's going to be important to note that he's going to be really, 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 unhappy in about 3 games. 4 games, maybe. 4 games, maybe 3. And I think that's what we have when we look at it from that standpoint. It's going to be a situation of where he claims he's happy now. He's probably not going to be happy in a few weeks. A few weeks into the season. Just wait until they have a game where Dak Prescott doesn't throw him the ball, period. That's really, going to be one of those times when you're going to see how happy he actually is in Dallas. But when it comes back to the Steelers and the wide receiver position, I think it's going to be really important for them to just continue to, find, go through everything they can go through to go find a guy. But Olave just wasn't going to probably work. The Saints didn't want to trade him. I think, if they did trade him, it would have cost a lot for the Steelers to go get him. I know that a number of other teams have basically gone and they have tried to inquire about him as well. You know what I mean? And that, to me, is where I would tell you, as more and more teams get involved, then basically more and more teams are going to drive the price up. And that's what happened. They drive the price up. And when they drive the price up, it makes it really difficult, not just to sign them, but also to trade for them, to get a place where, you can make a deal. So it's one of those things where Olave's also been injured a lot, as someone pointed out. And I think that's really a part of the discussion, period. I think that's really a part of the discussion. So, when you think about it from that standpoint, I don't know. Do you really want to bring a guy like that in? I don't think you do. And I think that's what the Steelers probably were rebuffed in some ways by the Saints, but they probably should be happy that the deal wasn't made, because again, it would have cost them a lot of money and all that other stuff. I laughed. I got a lot of people that were angry at me because I wrote about, our neighborhood jackass Gar Burkery, right, is in the chat. He's a total loser. That really is a clown. I'm glad he joins us every day, though, because obviously he's butthurt about something. Anyway, I feel like when we talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's such a polarizing thing. It really is. It makes me just crazy how polarizing it is. I just don't think it is going to be productive for people to get angry and upset. There's no reason. It's going to be, in my mind, okay if he signs with the Steelers. It really is. It's going to be okay. And I think that's the thing about it. When I look at it that way, if he signs with the Steelers, he makes them a better team. He gives them a better chance to win. He gives them a better chance to win. And I think that really it's important to remember that. Like, he's better than the guys they have. And that's all I wrote about the other day, really. That's all I wrote about the other day. I wrote about the fact that it's going to be important for Steeler fans that hate Aaron Rodgers to remember that. Do you love the Rodgers? Do you love the Steelers? Do you want them to win? Do you want them to have the best chance to win? Do you want them to be good enough to maybe even win a playoff game? I see the only path to that this year is Aaron Rodgers being their quarterback, because he's better than anybody else you could come up with. He's better than anybody else you could come up with. And I think that's important to note. So I got people that are emailing me. They're all angry because, he's a jerk. He's this, he's that. My favorite one is he's a diva and he's a drama queen and a diva. Boy, who does that sound like? I'll give you a hint. The guy that wore number 7 for all those years. Do you remember him? Was there ever a bigger diva? Was there ever a bigger drama queen? Was there ever a bigger prima donna than him? Come on, man. There wasn't. That's what I always tell you. There wasn't. And so, if you love Big Ben and you can't stand Aaron Rodgers because he's a quote-unquote prima donna drama queen, I don't know what to tell you. As I said, if you listed the top 5 prima donna, drama queen, whatever you want to call them, type in the NFL, at least in my lifetime, or at least, the time of me covering the Steelers, Big Ben is in the top 5, baby. So do you love the Steelers or you don't? That was all I was writing about. And people were angry about me, were angry at me, that I had the audacity to say, maybe you should embrace Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you should embrace the idea that he is, indeed a guy who basically, I think, is somebody who gives you a chance to win. And that's all you can ask for, a chance to win, period. And he's better than the guys you have. He's better than the guys you have. So to me, if you don't like his stance on vaccines, if you think he's a MAGA or whatever the hell that is, if you think he's aloof, if you don't like that he does like weird cleanses in the middle of nowhere, who cares? If he gets your team to 11 or 12 wins and a playoff win and maybe even the AFC Championship game, all of that stuff goes out the window. And I got news for you. If he ain't the quarterback this year, they have no chance. And I'm not saying that he's going to get them there or that he won't be a total bust or that he, whatever. The reality is his ceiling is higher than any other guy, especially right now, when you look at the list of free agents that are left or guys that they could go out and actually add. Joining us now from the Washington Wild Things is our good friend, Tony Basil. Tony is obviously a baseball guy. We'll get to him for a minute, but I guarantee you he's got some thoughts on the Steelers offseason and the fact that there are people out there who don't seem to understand the only option they have left at quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. What is your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, I know we talked about it, Paul, and thanks for having me. We talked a couple months back, and I know I was kind of pounding the table for Justin Fields' side of it. Still, I think looking back retrospectively, a lot of people say, hey, that would have been the best move to do, just overpay for it a little bit more at the time. And yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, you're in a spot now. You put yourself into a corner. You put all your eggs in one basket. You've kind of made your deal, and you've let all the other scenarios kind of play out where you and Aaron either have to finalize something at one point, or you're going to go into the season with Mason and feel comfortable at least kind of where that's going to be. Obviously, at that point, you do look at kind of, hey, is there any friction of some of the veteran guys who kind of look 30 plus of, hey, these are my last couple years. How do they respond to that quarterback room if that's what it resorts to? But probably still like a lot of other people now, that comfort level that, hey, it's going to be Aaron. It's just a matter of when, and I guess when more than anything now.
Right. I mean, my thing is, we probably could have had a conversation way back when, about who might be better, who might be, a better – but right now, unfortunately, it's him or nobody. There are no more options, right?
Yeah, options dried up. I mean, you're not taking on the Kirk Cousins deal. That's just too messy. I think you're asking for way too many problems there. I mean, at that point, like I said, you just might roll it out with Mason. You know what you got. There's how much difference is there between Kirk Cousins coming off injury and knowing kind of what his salary situation is versus Mason, somebody who's been there, knows the system, knows the guys that are in place. So, it's kind of you're at the end of the rope there. Aaron's your last lifeline, and whatever that swing of winning games with Aaron versus Mason or Will Howard for that extent, the win gap, you're just going to have to kind of roll with it and take your lumps where you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it is in my mind. Is you really have no choice, to be honest. You got to go with it. I mean, this is what you got. And I think that I like Mason Rudolph. I think he's capable of doing some things and all that good stuff. He's not as good as Aaron Rodgers is. And I don't think your ceiling is as high as Aaron Rodgers. And that's all I wrote about. And I got a number of people were angry at me because they said I was basically, sort of poo-pooing the idea that he might be washed up. But when people get angry with me about Aaron Rodgers being washed, they're not talking about him being washed up. It's all the personal stuff they don't like about the guy.
Yeah, that's where it's a fine line. I always get asked those questions of, like, just on my level of things and even how it translates across sports, of the guys in the clubhouse or the locker room. How much does that really matter? Talking about the prima donnas and the divas, how much matter? Can it hurt you? Do you need to have everybody to be friendly in a locker room? That stuff to play out. Like talent wise, you accept the upgrade there. You put up with everything else. The arm talent, for even if it's 70%, 65% of what it was in prime, it's still better than, I don't know, probably 45, 50% of the league just of his arm talent still to this day. With regardless, the rest of the body's faded, but the arm talent is still something that separates him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, moving into your world, baseball, obviously, while things have gotten started, you guys have had some games. You're playing now. What can you say about the beginning of your season?
Yeah, we're 10 games in. So in that little segment, we're 6-4. Had a great home opener. We swept the home opening series here last week. Back here for 3 games this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then late May, early June, we got a long run of like 9 at home. So good little stint here. A bunch of big, crazy news. Yesterday we announced one of our guys, a PSAC kid, PSAC pitcher of the year, got signed by the Minnesota Twins. One of our former guys got his second or third call up with the Pirates again. Isaac Matson, he's up in the big leagues in their pen. So glad for those guys, for them to kind of continue grinding through it and proving people wrong and overcoming the quasi prospects and other people who were in front of them. Just being able to knock down those barriers and pitch their way into opportunities. So should have a lot more big news coming. We were just dealing with a whirlwind now. And anytime a guy gets signed, especially on the road, it's not like an affiliated club where I can just bring some dude up from a complex. I got to find a free agent, work out a deal, and get him out to where we're at on the road. So 2 more in Chicago and back home for some home cooking.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, as much as you're really, really happy, right, for your guys to get called up and get taken to, away from, by major league organizations, it probably creates a little bit of a headache because you got to go find replacements.
Yeah, it's a headache. It's probably the most stressful part of the job of that stuff. Scouring the wires, coaches, scouts, the full spectrum of it. It's definitely a different situation than just going out and playing baseball. I mean, that's almost more relaxing of just, hey, here's our roster. Right now we're dealing with a bunch of injuries. We got a couple guys with some leg hamstrings and stuff popping up. So, I mean, that stuff hurts too. I mean, you need to be able to have healthy and active bodies. And like I said, more scary on the road trip where we have less resources, less time, less logistics to kind of coordinate versus being home at the ballpark and being able to kind of utilize this as a central base of getting guys here and stuff. So good stuff. Always excited. I think we're almost like 50 dudes in our 24 years of existence, or 23 years. We've had 50 guys sign affiliated. So we're reaching some good benchmarks and definitely paying dividends. A lot of guys speak very highly to their time here, and that word of mouth gets more and more guys coming our way.
Of those 50, how many have made the majors?
I think we're about 8 now. I think
nice.
Prior to last year, I had 4. And then last year alone, I had 4, which was pretty wild. 3 of them were in like the span of a week. So it's definitely been a growing trend here. Past 10, 15 years of just guys getting more opportunities and just seeing guys and pitchers develop. Organizations are a little bit more lenient of guys 26, 27, 28. If they're throwing 95, 96, 97, they have a longer leash for them than they maybe had 10, 15 years ago when the big young push was kicking. So good stuff. I'm sure there'll be more to come, and more guys go into affiliated, and we'll find ways to keep winning. That's the fun challenge of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's true. Where do you go to find players? I can't imagine it's, let's see, right, like a week and a half before June or something like that. I can't imagine there are guys out there who aren't playing that would want to play, correct? I mean, where do you find guys that are just kind of not affiliated with a team and just sort of sitting around?
Yeah, it's the market is always unique, different depending on the month and time of year. There's less affiliated guys right now, so there's less guys from AA, AAA, single A that are getting released or having their contracts voided. So that's a little tough. We're coming to a spot right now where we're dealing with a lot of D2 guys, a lot of the Division II, the PSAC championships wrapped up. A lot of those big programs across the PSAC are finishing. We have a good relationship in the Peach Belt down south. A couple of the D1 systems are wrapping up. The people who are not didn't make their conference tournaments. So scouring those wires right now, I mean, you got to watch too. We're looking at pitchers, and sometimes we're signing guys who have already thrown 100 innings in their college season and say, hey, we're 10 games into 96 games. Get ready to throw another 100. That's asking a lot physically for some of these guys, and let alone the adjustment from college to pro is a big transition within itself. But the body can't hold that many innings in an arm. So we just got to be smart with it. And it's a little bit smoke and mirrors every once in a while. But we still we'll end up finding the best guys. It's just a matter of time, and knock on wood, I always get kind of lucky here and there. So.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the big thing. It's important. It's important to note that, honestly, from the standpoint of you have a different, unique challenge than everyone else, or at least the affiliated teams, because you are on your own to go find players, right?
Yeah. Kind of like what you're used to, travel, basketball, AAU stuff. You're digging around, you're finding people, you're looking at their social medias, you're seeing who's all conference in their college playing, stuff like that. So I mean, you're doing a lot of groundwork for it and getting guys' phone numbers, and it's not as easy as maybe the NFL or some of the other major orgs have it, where they got databases of guys and phone numbers and all this and that. We're operating. It's still fun. You can turn over that rock, and who knows, you might find the next guy to make the big leagues. It's kind of that type of challenge, which is nice.
Yeah. How many do you guys have? Do you have any like full-time scouts?
Yeah, I mean, we got some people all across. I mean, we have guys on the West Coast that help us. A lot of our connections, a lot of roving scouts in certain regions. The MAC we do pretty well in. I'm pretty well connected in through the Carolinas, the Big South areas. So, I mean, I've been doing it a long time, so it's always nice, from just kind of even on the basketball circuit, you have people you can rely on, giving you good names, giving you good feedback, and knowing the level of play you're going to get. So that eases a lot of things, and being able to see some video of some guys and mash things up. So it's a unique challenge. It's definitely a lot different than a lot of other people take on in the pro sports world. You never really kind of see the wheeling nailers working out random guys the go play. Like, it's just not that same format. It would be interesting to kind of see random people in wheeling jumping on skates and trying to work out for the nailers. But yeah, there are a lot of people want to play baseball. Baseball is that type of sport. So you gotta keep turning over stones till you find that gem.
Do you find that when the major league team that's a little bit north of you loses and has bad seasons and bad stretches, do you find that helps your attendance at all?
I think it helps our narrative a little bit. Certainly, the number one thing I always lead with is that we're not affiliated with them. We're not shared ownership. We're not. We don't operate financially the same way. There's a lot of education of that we try to do. There's still people who ask us, "Hey, are you associated with them? Or are you high A, double A? Where do you really fit?" There's definitely an appetite for a certain portion of the fan base to say, you know what, I don't want to spend money at that ballpark, or I don't want to associate myself with kind of portions of that operation. And we're happy to kind of be an alternative that provides a different focus. I mean, we're pretty transparent of our end goals and our steps to get there. So if there are people like that, and my biggest challenge, and I think my biggest frustration, is the clientele that say, "I'm over baseball. I'm sick of it. Baseball's dead to me." Like that stuff, that gets my blood boiling. That gets me very frustrated, just kind of with what MLB or the collective whole allows kind of things to become. The immediate dismissal of baseball and what that does generationally. For that person who says that, and their kids or their parents, that can really disrupt a lot of things, and it shouldn't be that way. I wish it wasn't that way, but like everyone said, nothing's really going to change until ownership changes, and there's no rationale until pressure gets put on. So,
Well, have you ever fired a manager in season, and what do you think that does? Like, do you think that's I mean, to me, I'm watching them now with their new manager, and they look a lot like they did when they had their old manager. I understand why you make the move. I think that you probably needed to try and appease some of your fan base and all that other stuff. Have you ever had to do that? And what are your thoughts? I mean, does it generally work out where it's a spark? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it ultimately it has the ability to spark depending on the talent you have in the room. Obviously, that's their biggest challenge. I mean, talent and investment in the room and the group is likely going to hold them back regardless. Joe Torre could go out there and be their manager. He's still going to deal with the same problems. Strategically, you can only overcome so much. Operating a bullpen perfectly still doesn't solve certain talent problems and matchup problems. So you expect a different spark. You expect a little bit different energy and maybe slight shifts in playing style. We did have to fire a manager, I believe, in 2014 midseason. We were actually a wild card team at that time, and we made the move and we made a strong push down the stretch and made the playoffs and won, I think, the first series. So you expect things to kind of shock the boat a little bit, and then maybe that initial stabilization. But at the end of the day, talent speaks through, players speak through. There's only so much a general manager and a manager are going to be able to manipulate without pieces on the table to actually move the move to get across the finish line. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I mean, I think unfortunately, luckily you're secure, but I think the general manager of that team should probably be in a place right now where he's not feeling so secure because, I mean, Tony, this is year 6. And we talked about you've got some people on the West Coast or this is year 6 where he presumably hired a bunch of his scouts and has a full-time staff and an analytics staff and all the other stuff. In year 6, we're still talking about them running Tommy Pham out there every day, Adam Frazier out there every day, Jared Driola over there every day, Joey Bart. They've got a catcher that they drafted 1-1, and instead they've got a guy they picked up off the scrap heap playing catcher every day. Andrew McCutchen is still one of their best hitters. I mean, where are all these players that for the last 6 years that they presumably have been stockpiling?
Yeah, that's where I think gets frustrating, and I think where the narrative to a lot of fans goes stale. Just hearing the notions of 4-year plans, 5-year plans, regardless of who the GM is or who the manager is, they kind of lay out some schedule that fans that they try to tie that at least buy some time for fans to accept maybe some potholes and challenges. And that's where it gets, I mean, I look at it from my end and I guess whether it's fortunately the organization I'm with or the level, or I'm sure there's organizations at the big league level, they operate year to year to go out and win. And that's where like a lot of my sanity, I guess, comes from that. Hey, I can go out there and every year, regardless, we're going to put our resources solely behind winning that year. I don't have to manipulate or run all these.
I think we lost Tony here a minute. I think we lost Tony for a minute here. I think what happened is we probably are having some internet issues. Not us, but maybe Tony is, simply because it's really bad out there right now. In terms of the storm, I can hear it, cracking. So I guess that would be the end of Tony, and that's okay. We love Tony. He obviously does a great job breaking it down. But yeah, where are all these guys at? Where are all these guys at? Period. And they're not anywhere because they don't exist. Year 6, you don't have storming. Year 6, year 6. You don't have Tommy Pham running out there, and it looks like he's back. Are you back?
Back.
All right, good.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the year 6 of Tommy Pham, you don't think you have better options in house, and I think that's I understand probably most with fans at that point of you're sold a bill of goods down the road, and sooner or later somebody needs to be held accountable for that, and trying to tell your fan base, hey, buy in for us for 3 or 4 years, and we'll deliver down the stretch. Yeah, sooner or later somebody's gonna meet the maker at that point, and it's not going to be acceptable anymore. It's similar to the comment a couple of years ago. Hey, if fans come out and spend money at the ballpark, we'll put it back into the salaries and the team operations. So that's where it gets. I'm sure it gets more frustrating. Is you're getting fed some operations that you're not seeing the results that you were maybe promised that from the beginning. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's very tough. Well, Tony, as always, we love having you on. Thank you so much for jumping in with us and breaking down. We enjoy talking baseball with you. Hopefully we see you soon actually see you live soon. It's been a couple of weeks, so maybe we're going to do lunch again or, try and golf or something, right? There he goes again. He's gone. Anyway, game's always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's on Carson Street, Archie's home of 80-cent wings. Monday through Thursday, Archie's is the home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So get down to Archie. When you get down there, tell him Paul Zeise sent you. Till such time, let's do it again tomorrow, and hopefully, maybe we'll have a quarterback or something, right? All right, we'll do it.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.